Welcome everyone to the fourth episode of Dirty Laundry. On today's episode, we're going to try to build a deck for Apex, the Invasive Predator, who is the 4525 new runner from Data and Destiny, who has no access to non-virtual resources, but when your turn begins, you may install one card from your grip face down, and that mechanic is going to become important later because he uses installed cards as fuel for his breaker. So a lot of people in the community have been really trying to put together a deck for him, but finding it very difficult. So I figured I would take a whirl. I haven't really looked at it since I made the Singularity deck. So let's see what I can come up with. So I think when you look at his events, Apex actually has two incredibly powerful events. He has Apocalypse, which if you make a run on HQ R&D and Archives, so it's like Nets of Liberty or Quest completed, you get to trash all installed corp cards, and then all of your cards get turned face down so they can ostensibly become fuel. So we're going to want 3 of those. He also has Prey, which is basically a ice destruction event where you don't necessarily have to break the ice, you just have to pass it. So we also want 3 of those since it costs 0. So what else? I think one of the biggest issues that people are having with Apex is when you look at his breaker, Endless Hunger, it's strength 11 and you can trash any installed card to break an end the run subroutine. It's pretty good. The problem is that it doesn't break anything besides end the runs, which there is a plethora of these types of decks nowadays with NBN, with Jinteki, which play taxing ice that don't necessarily end the run. But nonetheless, we want 4 of these. They take up 4 MU, which is kind of problematic. We also want 3 Harbingers. It's fuel for his Endless Hunger, where you have to trash an installed card, because the first time you try to trash it, it flips instead. So you essentially, it's a 0 cost, 0 memory card where you get 2 uses out of it. I apologize, my voice isn't in very good shape today. So how are we going to back this up? Well, I think one of the natural things that we're going to need to make this work is E3 feedback implants. And E3 feedback implants is the piece of criminal hardware where if you break a subroutine on a piece of ice, you can pay one to break an additional subroutine on that piece of ice. So I think we actually want 3 of these, especially with how many effects we're going to have that's trashing cards. We're going to want to make sure that we get that out. So that way, if that big piece of big bad ice has at least one and the run subroutine, we can break the rest of it with E3. So yeah, I think E3 feedback implants is definitely going to be the way to go. From my previous testing, I noticed that we have a serious problem with big ice in this deck that doesn't have and the run subroutines like Gutenberg, so I think we want at least one David. I think that's going to be very, very important. So the real problem is early on, how do we keep the pressure on not being able to do anything about things like Komainu or, other things that don't have end the run subroutines. And I had this thought this morning, which is why I'm making this deck. I actually think that the answer to this question is to use the virtual resource always be running. So that's David's signature or Adam's signature directive, and it says that the first click you use each turn must be used to make a run or play a run event, and you can spend 2 clicks to break a subroutine on a piece of ice currently being encountered. I think we want 2 of those. Once they're down, yeah, we have to run each click, but we have Endless Hunger for these and the run subroutines with E3 feedback implants, and if we hit something nasty that we can't break because we haven't found our David yet, we can use the 2 clicks in the E3 feedback implants to break it, which means that we can maintain pressure, which is one of the biggest problems that I've had with Apex decks. Also, one of the side effects of always be running in Apex is that when I'm tired of it, I can always trash an installed card with Endless Hunger and use Always Be Running as the fuel for that and just end the effect immediately. So I have an easier time getting rid of Always Be Running than Adam does. So right now we're at 16 influence and 18 cards. We definitely need some more good stuff. I think we're definitely going to need Mimics just to deal with things like Architects and other type of just low strength sentries that we don't want to be using to always be running for. So we're at 18 influence now. So what else are we going to use in this deck? I think because of how much he cycles, I think we definitely want a couple of clone chips. I just love clone chips. I try to put 2 clone chips in every deck that I can, just because it makes your life a whole lot easier. Now, if I'm going to be tearing through all this deck and potentially flipping everything over, I feel like I need Levy. Levy is going to let me recycle the clock on this. I might not play it every game, but I'd like to know it's there. I would say, since we can't play Same Old Thing in this deck because it's not a virtual resource, I would not Apocalypse unless you absolutely had to, until you had your Levy AR in your hand. Because if you don't have your Levy AR in your hand, and you use one of his abilities, or you use, what's it called? No, I don't need everything. Just show me there it is. The hunting grounds, where you just pull up the top 3 cards of your stack face down, of which we're going to take 3. You could pick the Levy AR and put it face down, and then it's completely unusable for the rest of the game. So I would wait to play one of these hunting grounds, unless you absolutely had to, until you had the Levy AR in hand. We also want 3 of Wasteland. It's his primary economy engine. The first time each turn you trash one of your installed cards, gain 1 credit. You're going to be doing that a lot, so you're very likely to get the monetary return on that card. So we've completely used up our influence. So let's do some of the other stuff. I think as far as hardware is concerned, I think we want Heartbeat. It's pretty inexpensive for a 1MU console, and you can trash an installed card to prevent 1 damage of any kind, which includes brain damage, meat damage, net damage. So it's not bad. It's just card intensive. So what else do we need? We're gonna need more MU. I want to say that I want to use Q coherence chip just because it's so cheap, but whenever a program is trashed, Q coherence chip gets trashed, so I can't use it with Endless Hunger, because if I haven't already flipped the card over when I trash it, let's say I need to get into a server, so I have to trash an empty David. If I use that, then I lose the Q coherence chip. So as much as I think it's the lesser of the neutral MU options, I think we're going to have to put 2 Dyson mem chips in to try to fill in the gap with this deck. That's rough. And I think maybe, I have to be willing to destroy Endless Hunger to get the programs I need now, and then just be willing to recur it with clone chip, maybe. Maybe that's what I need to do, just to be able to get cards back when I absolutely have to. Yeah. Or maybe this is the rare instance where uninstall might be a good choice. Let me go ahead and remind myself what that card does. Let me get the hardware out of there. Yeah, I actually think uninstall as a 2-of might be a good call in this deck, just because I can use it to pick up things like Endless Hunger or David before, or pick up, let's say I've used David early in the game and I want to put Endless Hunger back down. I can use uninstall to pick David up, put it back into my hand, put Endless Hunger down, and then continue with my day without losing it forever. Yeah, I think that's the right choice. I think that's what I need to do here. And then what else do I need? I think in the current meta, unfortunately, I need Plascrete Carapaces for my server tower. Never mind how an AI plays Plascrete Carapace, but whatever. I guess I just have armor plated building that my like a reinforced bunker that my servers are in. I think, what else do I need? I need more money. God, and I need more draw. Like, when you're trying to build Apex, like looking at these resources, if I sort everything by the virtual resource type, which is the only thing that he can use, it gets really crazy, because it really changes what I'm able to do. Like, even if I'm looking at everything, there's like no draw in here in any of the virtual stuff, except for Safety First, which I really don't have. That's really kind of synergistic with what I'm doing. So what am I going to do? Let's look at just the neutrals. We got Data Folding, Ghost Runner, Utopia Shard, and Hades Shard, and Eden Shard. So that's not super great. How How am I going to fix this? I've got no draw. Do I just have to resign myself to manually drawing? Because I don't think I can cut anything to put like diesels or quality times in. I wish there was like a John Masanori equivalent, but virtual. I'm not going to have room for data folding, not with this 4MU monstrosity flying around. Do I just have to click for cards, or how do I fix this? I guess what I could do is I could cut a single copy of E3 feedback implants, and I'm going to put in 2 quality times, just so I have a little bit of ability to burst through the deck to get what I need. I think that's good. And let's go over to events and go look at some neutral events and see what I can pick up. Blackmail's not going to come up. I think I could definitely use some dirty laundries. Let's start with 2 of those. I've got 2 uninstalls. I definitely want 3 sure gambles. So maybe since I'm going to be running pretty easy, maybe I just want that 3rd dirty laundry and then call this a nice, neat 45 card Apex deck that we can use to try to see what happens. I'm definitely going to do a test run segment on this deck, and we'll see how it plays. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Dirty Laundry. You can find A&R Black Hats on Facebook and on Twitter, and also on iTunes. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to give me feedback on the deck build and how you've been playing Apex in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.